know this guy.
Vanya?
It's a frog marriage, and we're getting an annulled ASAP.
Oh my God. Vanya, be a man and talk to me.
What is that? Is that a butterfly?
Yeah, it's a butterfly.
You're so classy.
I know.
I got dollar signs like a real hoe.
I had a chance to see this at Enzian. Did you go to Enzian for it?
Yeah, I saw it in the 35 millimeter.
Yep, same. So did I. So our local indie theater, Enzian, here in Orlando, showed it on 35 millimeter. Beautiful, crackly celluloid. And this is what Hunter was alluding to at the top of the episode, the front runner for Best Picture. So we're going to be talking about this movie a lot the next few months. We will definitely do a big boy spoiler deep dive into Anora. But yeah, it comes from Sean Baker, the filmmaker behind movies such as The Florida Project and Red Rocket, both of which we all love here, made all of our top 10s. And I think this is a shoe-in for all of our top 10s, probably our top 5s, because this movie's fucking amazing. It's so well done in every conceivable way. It has this glamour and this gloss and this poppy energy. And then it also has this deeply heartbreaking, crushing, center underneath all of that poppy gloss.
Yes.
There are so many layers to this movie. So we won't get into any plot details or anything like that. Maybe we can give some overall sort of table setting overview of what the movie's about. It's about a stripper who's also a sex worker in New York City, and a young Russian oligarch, son of an oligarch, who buys her time for a week to be his girlfriend. So shades of Pretty Woman in there, the Richard Gere, Julia Roberts film, a movie I've actually never seen. I don't know if you've seen Pretty Woman. There's a lot of there's a lot of Safdie energy in here too. There's a lot of uncut gems.
It is plot wise, I guess, like half of it is kind of like Pretty Woman, but vibe wise, it is much more closer to something like Uncut Gems, where it's dark. It is very intense, but also like darkly funny. Like this is like, I'll back up in a second and just say, like, I think this is like the movie of the year. I really am excited to see it a second time, to kind of wrestle with a lot of my feelings on it, because there are so many layers to it. And Sean Baker has been the past, like, one of my favorite filmmakers working. Florida Project is one of my favorite movies ever, frankly. The way that he is so interested in destigmatizing not just like sex workers, which is kind of the most obvious thing between this, Red Rocket, Tangerine, like that's something that he comes back to, but this whole idea of class and America and what we kind of idolize whenever we even look up to like what riches are and what love is. There's so many layers to the onion of this movie, and I really think it's a masterpiece. Like, it's hard to really watch this movie and think anything but that about how successful it is. Huge credit to that goes to Mikey Madison, who plays Anora. As much as we were here on Demi Island, I still think Demi has a shot at getting a nomination. I don't really see anybody being Mikey Madison for the Oscar. I think that like what she does, the layers that she has here, with giving a very physical performance, but also being absolutely hilarious, like one of the funniest roles that you will see of the year, but also deep down, like so broken inside. And you can just see how worn out by life she is, that's just willing to cling on to any chance of hope, any way to get out of this cycle that you are stuck in. And I know we're saying a lot of like words about like how heavy and how dark the undertones is, but a lot of this movie is kind of like the glitz and glamour of it all. Of like, oh my God, wouldn't that be so nice? Yeah.
There's a very noticeable turn in the movie where you have a long stretch of just smiles, excitement, partying, sex, drugs, booze, and then things change. Things take a turn. And the way Sean Baker does it is so fucking perfect. It's so well done.
It's one of those things that then makes you go back to the first half and think like, was it always like bright and shiny, or was it just like you just threw some glitter on some shit? Like that's
was kind of the darkness always there? Yeah,
exactly. There's like a lot of like fear, and like I kind of got scared at multiple points for the characters that are in this movie while watching it, because you never really know like what turns this movie is going to take. Like I would invite, if you haven't seen this movie before, to the trailers do a good job of not really saying where the movie is going, but go in a little bit more blind and just kind of go with the turns of this movie, because
I mean,
it takes you on some turns.
There is one turn in particular that none of the trailers gave away, that makes the movie. I mean, the final scene to me is what turns this into like a true 10 out of 10, 5-star movie. I'm so curious to have an in-depth, like spoiler-filled discussion about the final moments of this movie, because they really recontextualize everything you've seen before it. And when the credits are rolling, you're kind of sitting there really just contemplating a lot that you wouldn't think you necessarily would be, given the flashier, energetic nature of the first 45 minutes of the movie. It contains multitudes. It's what cinema is all about, you know, just going through this big experience in the course of just 2 hours. It's a hell of a movie. So we'll definitely be talking about it a lot more as the year goes on. Look out for a meteor episode, spoiler-fill episode.
So I did want to ask before we move on, like where are you at? Like, what is your vibe check for Anora? Like, would you guess today this is winning Best Picture, Baker, Best Director?
I think it's too good.
Is our boy Yuri going to get a nomination for Best Supporting Actor?
Yeah, he needs to. He needs to.
Talk about surprises. Once again, our guy just getting like non-actors or actors that you have never seen before in your life to just give unbelievable performances.
I mean, it's hard because, you know, we also do our fantasy film league every year, and we knew Sean Baker was coming out with a new movie, and nobody drafted it because the only nomination he's ever gotten was Willem Dafoe for Best Supporting Actor for The Florida Project. I'm pretty sure that's literally the only Oscar nomination that any of Sean Baker's movies have gotten. So a new Sean Baker movie doesn't mean that it's going to get swept up into the awards race. So Anora being the front runner, I mean, it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. So that's a huge, huge sign of it being embraced by the Academy. But I don't know. It feels a little too good to be true. It feels like it's the classic movie that everyone will be head over heels about. All the critics will be loving it. And then the Academy won't quite get there. The Academy will instead throw their love towards, you know, a Wicked or a Conclave. So we don't know exactly how this is going to shake out. I do think that time and time again, we underestimate how different the Academy is now than it historically has been, right? Like we've seen movies like Parasite, Everything Everywhere, really, really dominate. So this, I could see it. I want to temper expectations a little bit. And because the races still feel so wide open, I don't want to like plant the flag here and say like Anora's winning Best Picture. It's not that simple.
It does feel a little bit too cool to win Best Picture. Like this would be one of the coolest wins that I can remember in recent memory.
Maybe original screenplay. That is like the cool Oscar.
Yeah. And I honestly think, I don't know what the odds are on that right now on Gold Derby, but I do feel like that is it's gotta be a heavy favorite for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's this,
but
The Brutalist, A Real Pain, The Substance. That's the
Man,
top four.
Actually, bangers for original screenplays this year. Let's go. No, I want to say that this is it, but I do have a lot of those same reservations. One thing that like is almost making me think of like maybe the Academy is ready is not just like the parasites and the everything everywhere that you mentioned, but a few years ago, I would have said that there's way too much sex in this movie. There's way too much nudity for this to be like a Best Picture winner.
Yeah.
But look at Poor Things. Poor Things won the second most Oscars last year. Like
Emma Stone got it. Yeah.
Loved Poor Things, and like it swept up in all of the undercard awards. Like I really think that means that there is some real noticeable shifts happening. Obviously, a lot of Academy voters are very plugged in with the Palme d'Or. Palme d'Or is always nominated for Best Picture. Usually is a lot of times correlates with something that could be at least a dark horse contender, if not a full-fledged contender.
It was Anatomy of a Fall last year, and then Triangle of Sadness the year before, I believe.
Which Triangle of, the COVID years are a little bit weird, just because it's hard to kind of tell a lot of the stuff that was coming out in 2020, 2021, but still. I really like this movie's chances and a lot of other stuff. I do think that it's going to win like all the Critics' Choice stuff.
But dude,
and it's really cool. It's just really cool to see this with Sean Baker. I never thought I always thought Sean Baker would be like one of our boys, like our little Critics' darling director that like we love him. He's making weird shit like Red Rocket and giving Simon Rex a chance to like have these starring roles. And the fact that like the world at large is embracing Sean Baker is just really cool to see. I'm not here to gatekeep Sean Baker. Like let the world have him.
I mean, if he wins Best Director and Mikey Madison wins Best Actress, there's not a lot keeping this from winning Best Picture. Like usually these things come in packages. That's what the Academy likes to do. If it wins Best Screenplay, that's one thing. Like they like to just save that as like the one cool thing you win. You know, Jordan Peele for Get Out. Here's your one Oscar. But if it gets actress and director, that usually points to a Best Picture win. So maybe this will be one of those weird years where you do see a split. Usually that doesn't happen. Usually Best Director lines up with Best Picture, especially if the acting win is there as well.
We'll see. One of the deep things, whenever we're talking about like winners of the year and we do that, the Wabamies, we're going to have to like carve out some space to talk about like the small indie niche production studios have now just fully taken over the big boys. Yeah. Between Neon and A24.
Absolutely.
Neon and A24 are going to produce like 7 of the 10 Best Picture nominees this year. It's going to be crazy when we look at it. Like, it's just like, oh no, we have like the modern day Miramax, and now there's like 2 of them that they're just going to kind of take over and dominate all these award cycles every year.